Everybody, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'm going to be sharing with y'all exactly how I was able to make $9,400 between Thursdays and Fridays trading session. I'm going to be sharing with y'all my entries, my exits, and exactly why I decided to make those moves. All right, so let's get right into it right off the bat. The trade that I took to make roughly $9,400. It all started out with this stock right here, Microsoft. All right, and for those of y'all who have not seen my previous video, I definitely recommend that y'all see that one first. I'm gonna put it at the top, that way y'all can see it. But in regarding Microsoft, after it had earnings, I was targeting this one throughout the remainder of the week. I took the first trade from here all the way up to here, got rid of those calls, but then again the next day, which is Thursday, I decided to go back in again. All right, I had a very specific plan for this one as shown right over here. All right, what I wanted at that specific time, I wanted Microsoft to have a pullback back down to support at around 293, maybe 294, consolidate, and then break out in the open. All right, now if we go back to ThinkorSwim, and I'm gonna erase this line, and we're gonna see, I'm gonna erase every line. Actually, no, I'm gonna erase this line. I still want that 310 to be up there. All right, that line right there. So we're gonna zoom in this region. All right, and for those of y'all familiar with my channel, you'll know how much I really like this specific structure. There was, between here and here, there was a bullish pennant cooking right there. All right, and the main objective was to simply buy the breakout, which is right over here. Any points between 295 and 298 or even 299 was a good entry for those for this trade. The contracts were relatively cheap, therefore it had a lot of upside in regards to profits to be made. All right, so we're going to go onto the monitor tab, that way you can see the exact time that I got in. So this is the order history for the 27th. As you can see up here, it says at 8:42. I was a little bit late because I was trying to decide which contracts to get, whether to get the 300 or to get the 300 strike or the 297 strike. So I was just trying to decide, but I did post exactly when that breakout occurred right over here at 8:35, right there. All right, that way everybody can be ready, everybody knows, that way they can get in at the contracts that they want while I was trying to decide which one I wanted. So I got the 300 strike. I bought 40 calls at exactly $209. So total size was around $8,000, and then I held for about an hour between 8:42 and 9:44. I ended up getting rid of half of them, 20 contracts, at 340. And the reason why I got rid of those contracts, let me change it to the 3-minute, and we're gonna zoom in right over here. All right, so my entry was in this candle right here, all right, at 8:42. And then I just held all the way until 9:36. I ended up selling half up here in this candle, and then the other half at 9:44, which was when this thing was pulling back a little bit. All right, the ultimate price target that I had for Microsoft was 310. Again, in the previous video, I told y'all that 95% of all gaps get filled at some points in time. All right, and the first gap got filled. The next objective was for Microsoft to fill the second gap, and it took a sweet time to get there. All right, now that was the first trade. The second trade that I took, oh, let me just go back here. All right, so I sold everything. My entry was with $8,000, and I sold everything for roughly 14,140. So that turned out to be a $6,140 profit for Microsoft. And now the next trade was taken the next day. So let me go on to the 28th. All right. And then the next day, the plan was pretty simple the next day. We're gonna zoom in right here. All right, and let's go down to the plan. There you go. So this was the plan. All right, so I was waiting for Microsoft to break above the pre-market high. And this is where the concept of supply and demand kind of kicks in. All right, we have that level of resistance. We still have some short sellers who are hoping for the stock to go down. It was looking like it was going in their favor at the open, but that didn't last very long. And it just chopped it for a little bit, for about 8 to 12 minutes, until the stock finally broke above 305. And when it broke above 305, that was my cue to go in with calls once again. All right, so at 8:40, about 9 calls of the 305 strike at the money, all right, for $187 per contract. And then 10 minutes later, so the first contracts were purchased right here. And then 10 minutes later, when this thing really started to pick up, I added same contracts again. I wanted to add 50. And for some reason, I only put 5. I was really ticked off about that. And I didn't find out until the stock was like way up here that I didn't put in the 0. That really pissed me off. But all in all, it was a solid trade. I held those contracts. I held those 14 contracts all the way up until, let's go back to here, all the way up until 9:27, where I sold all of them all at once when the value of those contracts doubled. All right, and the reason why I got rid of it at 9:27, which turned out to be the exact high of day on that specific day, was because the Qs were looking kind of sus. The Qs, and by the Qs I mean QQQ and the SPY, were looking very weak, and I didn't think they had more. I didn't think that they had more steam. I didn't think that they had more to give, and I felt like they were going to collapse. So it made sense to just get rid of all of my Microsoft calls, even though this gap is not fully filled. Again, we still have room all the way up to $310 or $311. All right, and I think that might actually happen tomorrow. So for this trade, the entry size was around $2,600, and I ended up getting rid of my contracts for around $5,300. Let me show you guys right over here. All right, so that was the first trade on the 27th. All right, the P&L for that. Some people ended up making money on both Microsoft and Apple because the entire market was moving higher and higher. All right, and here is another person who almost tripled their money on the 28th. Again, that's when I decided to buy the contracts that expired on Friday. This person got a different strike price, something that was a bit further out of the money. All right, and that was my P&L for Friday. As you can see, $2,600, and that's how everybody did. This one also made $400 from Microsoft. So all in all, it was a pretty decent trade on Microsoft. Now the third trade that I took was on AMD. Let me go to the 2 minutes. All right, and AMD, the reason why I took a trade on it is because of this. we're going to go up here and we're going to look at what AMD was forming. That way y'all can see the bigger picture, all right, of what actually happened. So this is AMD, and at 11:14, actually no, at 11:07 Central Time, AMD formed this structure right here. This is a bullish triangle. For those of y'all who are not familiar with it, this is, it's not my favorite. It's not my favorite structure to trade. The bullish and the bearish pennants are, but this one looked decent enough. It had some potential. There was some things that were kind of missing on it, but I decided to make a move on AMD at that specific time with these contracts right here. So I bought 10 of these contracts for like $30 each. Again, I didn't have too much confidence in it that it was going to play out the way it did, because there was some specific things that I look for with these structures that I didn't see with AMD. All right. And this is it right here, the structure right over here. And I was worried that it was going to play some games and not play out the way it should. All right. And as you can see right here, it broke out. I get in with contracts, with the at the money contracts that expire on Friday. And I'm looking for this move to be shifted here, between here and here. All right, but instead it decided to play these games where it breaks out and then tests my patience. Like over here, the value of those contracts were down by like 60%, and I just felt like, you know what, it's not gonna play out, and I just left the room. I just left the room because I didn't think it would play out, and it was a low risk trade. It was only $300, and I wanted to see, well, I didn't really care about how it would turn out until I came back later and I found that this thing was actually picking up, and there was some volume with the market as well. Right, so this thing just kept climbing and climbing, and it was just a delayed move. So it ended up playing out a little bit later than I wanted it to, and it went all the way up to around $89, which was the price target that I had for AMD. Actually, let's go back on here and let's see. Yeah, so the price target that I had on AMD was exactly $89.50. So it took its sweet time and it eventually got there. Some people took a trade on it and did really, really well. And that's pretty much the trade recap for these two stocks. All right, so if you have any questions, do not hesitate to drop them in the comment section of the video. If you are new to the channel, definitely click on subscribe and click on the notification bell along with all notifications. That way you don't miss out on future uploads. If you'd like to be part of a private Discord community where you can get all of this information in real time as I see them, you can find that as the first link in the description of the video below. Also, if you haven't followed me on social media, you can find me at NGumah and at Patternology Lab on Instagram and on Twitter. And lastly, if all of this is brand new to you, if you're interested in getting started in the stock market, there's some basic step-by-step directions in the description of the video below. Step 1 to step 3. It only takes about 10 to 15 minutes for you to have all the tools you need to start trading immediately. You can also get some free stocks after signing up with Webull using the third link in the description of the video below. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, my name is NGumah with Patternology Lab, where we trade patterns and patterns only. And I will see all of you in the next video.